Good morning, Ron. How are you?
I'm good, Aristo. How are you? Good afternoon.
Everything's nice and warm here, nice and toasty. So,
Yeah, we've been having nice weather here too. In fact, I've been running the air conditioner for the past few days. Uh, Normally, I don't run it unless it gets over 82 degrees in my house, and it was getting up to like 86 to 88. And I finally decided, well, I've got to put the air conditioner on, so I have it set at 82. Uh,
so, would you like to move into personal topics or impersonal ones? How is it? How does it feel to you?
I would like to leave it up to you. Whatever you feel, anything that you feel you would like to address is fine with me.
Okay. For one, let me say something in personal first. You had mentioned in your video, and we hear this a lot about 3D, 5D, and I've spoken about it too, and everybody else does. And just briefly, I was going to say something about it in the prior video, and I sidetracked myself. What I want to say is that 5D is the second dimension of time. We have three dimensions of space. We live in one dimension of time. When somebody lives in 3D, they have no sense of time, of being conscious of time influencing them and them influencing time. So you're basically a passive being that moves around in space, uh, moved around by forces that you're not even aware are moving you. You feel as if you're a pawn in your life, or instinct is moving you, or the gods, or whatever. 3D is basically your average living being. Animals live in 3D, and they go by their own sense of awareness, but they don't predict the future. They don't reminisce about the past. But even though humans do, they are moving into 4D. But 4D properly is a conscious awareness of time in the sense of fully understanding the past and fully understanding a linear future. Basically, if you have clairvoyance, if you can predict the future, the probabilities, but along a linear path, then you exist in 4D. And with 4D comes a certain astral awareness, a certain awareness of the etheric field, of energies, because the dynamics of causality are more prominent for you. However, you are still stuck on a linear time frame. You still feel that, well, I can predict the past, the future, but I can't change it. In fact, you're stuck on this idea of predicting the future or seeing where the future is going instead of noticing that it's not a single future, it's a probability field. When you enter into the awareness of the probability field that there is not a single future and that you have a choice, and that you can influence that choice with your own awareness, that is 5D. 5D is creating your own probability navigation. 5D is basically choosing, being able to choose where to go and establishing that choice as manifest. So you might say 5D is moving into 3D, but these dimensions are already here. The awareness and capacity to mobilize and navigate 5D is what we're learning. So all of our experiences, the good, the bad, and the ugly, are challenges that are prodding us, you might say, a little bit barbarically sometimes, in order to stand up and use these latent abilities to create probabilities, to basically say, well, I want this, I want my present to transform in this manner. I want these events to happen. And yet, as you say, as soon as I move towards something, because you can feel the initiation of creation in the sense of you have a desire, you see it coming, right? The desire is about to manifest. There it is. I'm navigating, I'm moving, and then pow, something blindsides you. And that comes from 5D, but you don't have access to 5D. In the sense, the so-called psychopaths don't have access either, but they're keeping your 5D awareness repressed. So they just have a little more access than you and have conditioned everybody along into a 4D pathway, into a linear pathway that they call timeline 2.
which makes the transformation that we're going through all the more remarkable because there is a suppression of our capability that is happening. They are shall we say, seeding the field to try their best to stop the awakening from occurring. Nevertheless, the awakening is happening.
Exactly, and it's happening because of what they're doing, not just in spite of what they're doing. Because they are the resistance without which we would probably not be moving forward. We would be happy as we were. Many people want to return to primitive states. They want to be nomads. They want to do away with everything civilization has done. Say, let's get back to nature, wear animal skins or nothing at all, roam around and eat in and be happy. Let nature take care of us. Basically, they're saying, let's go back to 3D, where we won't have the creativity, however, of the human being is directly linked to making your own reality, to basically saying, this is how I want the world to go, to realizing your dreams. If it is the dream of one person to go back and be primitive, then it's not really going back. It's taking a detour through that primitive experience, but in a new way. And that's their dream. Their dream should not contradict my dream, which is living in a world where I'm completely free, creative, having the relationships I desire in the way I desire, and in a way that doesn't trample other people without me having to think about it. I don't want to have to worry about trampling other people or saying, oh, there's somebody, my freedom has to be compromised here because it's going to impinge on their freedom and all of that. A spontaneous dance for me needs to arise, and then I can see the sky's the limit. I mean, there are so many things we can accomplish. So the big thing here is that you have this aspiration, and my opinion is the following. I agree with you that you cannot be free unless everybody is free. At the same time, however, nobody can be free unless you are free. It goes both ways. The important thing is that the point of your maximum ability to make a difference is with you. That's where it all begins. The personal stuff is important. The other stuff is also important, but the major lessons, in my opinion, are gotten in our personal lives, through our personal experiences, however we may define that. And Peter mentioned in the previous video, the video that you made with him about strange energies, and you were getting the sense that the house is yours, this energy of that's already changed. You've invested so much in the situation, you felt an awakening of a reality dynamic that marks a probability for you as a present moment sense. And as long as you can feel that ongoingly, the thing is you have to nurture it and feed it. See, what happens when we want something, we usually put a lot of energy to it and then we let it go. That's when it gets blindsided. We let it go and something else comes in, but we can't even comprehend that there are other forces, because these other forces basically are saying you can't have it, because if you have it, we're going to be left in the dust.
Well, about my house, the thing that's interesting to me is that when I was expecting my friend from Canada to arrive in the early part of June, I had made lots of preparations to make space for her, to make a place for her cat. But that's been, even though I'd have no idea when or even if she's coming again, because she is frightened to cross the border once again, and she doesn't know what decision she's going to make there. But I've continued to make improvements in my home, preparing my nest for somebody to share it with me. And as I've been doing this, I've been feeling more secure in my home than I did before, when I was wondering if somebody was going to come and try to steal it from me. I've been feeling much more secure than I was previous to expecting her arrival. So that has been actually precipitating the change in consciousness, or I should say the change in feelings that I've been experiencing in regard to my home. I mean, it's feeling now really, truly like this is my home. And
you're weaving your dream into your home. So, up until this point, it was your home and it is your home, but it still was given from somebody else. It wasn't. Oh, it seems that something. Is my image okay?
Yes, it was pixelated a little bit there for a second, but it seems to be back to normal.
Okay, so I got some message on top. But what I wanted to say was that now you are manifesting as a 5D act. And the act of 5D manifesting is weaving the dream into into 3D, into 4D, weaving the dream into our true life experience, into our manifest life experience. It's one thing to have a dream, and it's another to passively and be aware of the dream, and it's another to actually weave it into our lives. This is actually what magic is in the occult sense. You have a dream and you weave it into manifestation. The simplest way to do that is a ritual act, such as making space for your friend in your home. Your desire is coupled with everything that you do in your house. This is the being and doing synthesis. And so you've noticed a shift in energy. All of the energies that you've experienced in your ups and downs, where things have been healed, but you haven't been able to apply the healing directly. And in your latest video, you say, there's a sense of, but there's still these forces. I make a choice and it doesn't happen, and these forces are against me. And at this point, it seems like that's shifting into the sense of, yes, but you've healed so much, you're just not aware that you've healed it because you're not applying it yet. Now you're learning to apply it, and you're getting the first inklings of the result. And perhaps you can circulate that result with your friend in Canada, psychically and all of that. But she's in her space, and she needs to experience all of the fears to which she is receptive, and she's going to move through that. I mean, there's no need. I don't feel that there's a need to jump to make conclusions of, well, maybe we should not do this, or maybe we should do this. It doesn't matter. Things are status quo. They're exactly as they always have been up to this point. So you have all of the opportunity in the space to now consciously focus on creating the reality you want. Not just dreaming about it, but actually you're awakening all of those senses of, yeah, this can be natural. I'm taking my dream and I'm blending it in and I'm feeling a result. You affirm the result, and then you go to the next step of where your dream is leading you. There's the dream that gives you the future, the sense of what you want, your aspiration, and then there's the other dream that tells you how to apply the dream into manifestation. It's another form of desire. I desire how to do this. That's one of my biggest desires. How, and not in the sense of technical or whatever, but it's what is my way that I bring these things in the tangible form into reality. That way can become an energy of example to others, even if they don't know me, but they won't use the same way. They're still challenged to discover their own way, because you have to embody the change. You can't just read off a manual and do it.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting to see how the things play out with my friend. And by the way, my water system, I did not have to drill a well. We ended up rerouting a pipe through the concrete. We actually dug a trench in the concrete. And last night or yesterday, I was actually getting the steel plates covering it and getting them painted and put in place. That was one of the latest things that I was working on. But as I said, I've been doing a lot of little things to just enhance my home, and I have a few other things planned in the future. So I'm actually moving in that direction, like you said, of preparing the place for my partner to join me, and it'll be interesting to see how it plays out in 3D, 5D, whatever. I do appreciate, though, going back to the beginning of your comments, on the clarification that 5D is just another element of time, because so many have the perception that 5D we're moving out of time. And I haven't had that same perception, and I didn't know whether I was right or wrong, and I still don't. But it's interesting to hear you say that 5D is still time, it's just time with more control. that we have more of an influence, not control, but more of an influence.
Or it's time. It's a wider horizon of time. Let's put it that way. Yeah, I think it's a matter of semantics. Many people say time is this linear thing that we experience: the past, the present, the future, going through a sequence of events one after another. Time is duration. It's your sense of duration. There is no time really in the sense of an objective future and an objective past. There's only the present. But the present, the navigation of the present, which is infinite in itself, is the sense of time. You can put it this way. 5D is basically your ability to choose your future, whereas 4D, your future is just handed to you on a plate. 0D is you're not even aware of the sense of having a future, you're like an animal. But, 3D. But 6D would be an expansion where causality goes beyond your individual self, beyond even a higher self, into the way the cosmos blends all of the probabilities into a single meaningful dynamic. People in the New Age tend to jump over where they really are. They project themselves, in my opinion, theoretically into these idealized states they do not understand because they haven't experienced them, and they claim, no, I feel this, but you're intellectualizing it, or else you wouldn't have to argue the point. It's hard enough for me to have an inkling of perception and then try to put it into words because I place a lot of focus on that. I don't understand how people can claim to understand this thing called 5D, and it's turned into another cliche, into another label. But if you look at the things in terms of dimensions, we're structured to view dimensions in threes. We have 3 dimensions of space, and because of that, you can easily see 3 dimensions of time, and then go beyond to 3 dimensions of divinity, a trinity as they have it, etc., etc. 3 times 3, 3 plus 3 plus 3 equals 9. It's a nice way that our humanity can comprehend and reference reality without throwing out the left brain, because we need that, as Peter said, and we need the right brain and everything. But all of these cliches, and then being positive, they're not wrong. Or all you need is love. That's not wrong either. That's highly correct. But love is not just being a little puppy and petting the puppy and then forgetting about everything else. There's a whole world of it. And each of us is experiencing a shift in frequencies, as they would say. But the shift, in my opinion, what I've been experiencing, which I feel is a little akin to what Peter was describing, it's like your leg is asleep, right? And then it goes completely numb, and the blood starts flowing in. You're going to start feeling pins and needles, and it can be painful. It can be discomforting. Maybe it's not completely painful, but it's like, wow, what's this? I can't put this into words too much. What is this? It's not love. It's not fear. It's not hate. Well, it's the lifeblood flowing back into your field of reality expansion. And as it does so, you start waking up to these natural, spontaneous things, just like you are, of weaving your aspirations into manifestation. And that's what the beginning, you might say, or some stepping into the magical capacity that 5D really is. 5D is the magical world because we're just able to be more conscious of choosing within that world.
Let me ask you something. Did you, by any chance, catch Monday night's program with Lisa Harrison and crew, or haven't you been paying too close of attention to that?
No, I haven't had time to look in that direction. I come to the Internet Cafe Monday, Wednesday, and Friday these days because I'm doing a lot of writing at home. So I haven't looked into that, but I have heard your comments about it. Is there something specific?
Yeah, she made the statement that we are going to be able to create basically bonds as contracts and present them in the current world. They can either be accepted or not accepted, but it's a way of accessing our value, and which she's saying is unlimited, and I agree with that in theory. We do need to have practical applications of how to apply it in the world that we live in, but it's all a matter of coming down to actually contracting with everyone, and setting a value on that, because she said the bankers at the highest levels already know that the true value lies in us, and they know that they've been scamming us, and many of them are willing to make the changes that are needed to put the value back where it belongs, but individuals are still going to have to claim it and move into it. It's not going to be handed on a silver platter. That's my impression of what she's saying, although I still don't get all of the practicalities of it.
With her, sometimes it's pretty vague where she's speaking esoterically and where she's speaking directly pragmatically, and where she's trying to blend the two. I'm not sure in each case where her emphasis is, but I feel that she's in a process herself of coming up with a way of verbalizing this intuitive sense that what we're discussing esoterically can actually be applied pragmatically. On the simple scale, it's basically, look, value is just a matter of agreement. So far, value is what other people don't have. It's based on scarcity. I mean, yeah, it's based on envy, basically. Envy is the measure of value, and greed is the measure of value. But in a sense, value is something that's meaningful to you. It may be completely relative, or we also have common points of value. Life is value. Love is value. But to a psychopath, love doesn't have any value because it doesn't exist. They can't perceive it. So as we learn to know ourselves, we learn what value is, not in the sense of this is valuable, we all have to, like gold. Like, who cares about gold? I mean, I don't. Gold, basically, in ancient times, shamans had an energy sense for metals, and gold conducts bioenergy. So if you move your will and you have a lot of gold around you, you can amplify it, you can control people. That's why you had kings and everything wearing all this gold regalia. And also you were immune to psychic attack no matter what. From there it moved into, that's why these people are into hoarding gold. It gives them a false sense of psychic amplification. That's why they think they're kings in all of this. And they've gone hereditarily insane from gold fever and all of that. It's too much psychic force and channels that cannot handle it. But aside from that, I believe Lisa is basically referring to our basic sense of knowing ourselves. If you don't know what you want, your value is your dreams. Your dreams reflect your value. And the medium of value that we share with each other is the dream realizer reference. Basically, something in the material world or something of an agreement. I mean, in the end, you don't need money. It's all about contracts. But if you don't need money, you really don't need contracts, because contracts are agreements. A man's and woman's word is their bond. If somebody says, yes, I will help you in this, but we're all human beings and something might happen, so let's talk about it and orchestrate a just-in-case scenario. For factors, as we learn to move into this 5D navigation, we're learning to deal with each other and the unforeseen and our intersecting desires. She is, in a sense, trying to describe that if you want a peaceful world, you need to navigate 5D, because creating your own reality frame is a responsibility. And people are freaking out, but the thing is that it's not all of the chaos that's going in the world doesn't need to hinder our learning of our responsibility and our capacities. It can actually help us as a challenge, as a contrast. And as it does, we are open to the natural inspiration of how to put this in practice in society. By posing the problem yourself, you have set a vibration in motion. Not just because you're communicating the problem, but this vibration is being weaved into what you're doing with your house. It's being weaved into the aspiration of your relationship. A lot of people are thinking about the same thing, but they're feeling it. And they're experiencing the discomfort of that blood coming back into all these unused parts. And even as they do so, they can also sense that at the same time, you have these awakenings that are applied. You know, you speak the truth, so you speak the truth of your discomfort, but you also speak the specific truth, not a general vague, oh, I know what's going to happen, but specifically, my house has changed. my space has changed. By clearing my house, I am making the sacred choice of altering the conditions that of the probabilities of the future and everything, and my aspirations are now feeding the material, the very material frame of the house and everything for which it stands, because it's not just a material house, it's also an idea, an aspiration, a value. And the thing is, for example, a healer transmits value to another when they heal them. If you lay on the hands and you heal something, that's a transmission of value. And all of these things we're learning, but we need a medium. If you notice, and I'll finish up here, if you notice, most of our plannings of the future are how to keep the bad guys from doing bad things again. They're not focused on how to establish a reality where there doesn't have to be bad guys, or where we can heal badness, we can heal insanity. Yes, Jesus never healed it. He cast out demons. He took them from point A and put them to point B, but there was never a real redemption of the demonic or the psychopathic or anything. This is the novelty of the age, and that's why it scares us.
I think the idea of redeeming the psychopath is really, really important. And it begins, for me, it begins by recognizing psychopathic possibilities, if not tendencies, within myself.
Exactly.
And when I can recognize what I don't like in myself, then it helps me to heal that in the outside world or in others. Or it helps me to adopt a new attitude towards them that
Exactly.
I wouldn't have if I didn't recognize it within myself or
But
allow for
even
the possibility.
Exactly. Even when you feel weak and downtrodden and in despair, you still have a choice to open to the dream where you are strong and where you are creative and where you can make the choices. And the thing is, well, I'm still weak, yes, but there's this subtle feedback, this detailed, very minute feedback that you can sense the difference as you do. You can sense the weaving, and we are increasing our sensitivity because that's the tangible effect. The more we recognize a tangible effect, no matter how tiny it is, the more it becomes part of our reality. And then, like a tender plant, we nurture it. And so the next time, because they're going to try to blindside us again and again, simply because, and not just the psychopaths, but anybody with a contradictory framework. People who are attached to the matrix are feeling threatened by anybody who tries to transcend the matrix. So the dreams of people who are transcending the matrix threaten, subconsciously even, the lifestyles and sense of well-being, the complacency of all of these people who want to stay asleep. They're actually praying and feeding the matrix to stop us. And so, we can't ignore it, but it doesn't mean you're attacking anybody. You're simply asserting yourself. And you don't have to assert yourself with the cops or in anybody's face. You're asserting your dream. And it's a matter of practice. It's a matter of, getting used to the feeling of standing tall. Religions keep telling people to be humble, which means being debased and kicked down. True humility means being yourself. And that means standing tall. If your spine is straight, if you deny that your spine is straight when that is its nature, then you're not being humble, you're being arrogant in a crazy, twisted way. You're forcing it just because you were taught this way and punished. You're not taking your strength and using it, because that's the redemption of the world. Love and strength are one and the same. Something we mentioned in the previous video.
I agree. We've mentioned that many times. I think we're going to let this be the conversation for today, and hopefully I will have no technical issues in creating it for the file for uploading.
It's 8:08 behind your head, so it's a good time to end the video.
Yes, it's 8:08 here, and 2:08 there?
3:08.
3:08 there. Okay, 8:08 here. And
It's a good grounding.
We started about 30 minutes ago, roughly. Anyway, thank you, Aristo, and have a great day. And,
You too.
And
Keep
we
weaving,
will talk
Ron.
again in another week.
Keep weaving, because I can feel the difference. So, till next time.
Thank you very much.